Overthinkers are some of the most intelligent people currently walking this earth. By the end of this video, you'll have taken a practical step towards increasing your intelligence and then know how to increase it thereafter as an overthinker. So in what ways are overthinkers more intelligent than non-overthinkers? Overthinkers are more analytical than most. They worry about things other people don't worry about, which means they notice things others do not. They create patterns that aren't there. And this sounds like a weakness, but the ability to identify patterns at all is a superpower if used in a certain way. There is something called inductive reasoning, where you observe some general truths and draw a general conclusion. Something that, if experimented with scientifically, might be proven wrong. It's not got that much to back it up. Deductive reasoning is when you've got a very solid truth and another one, and you draw a very solid conclusion, something that is reasonably true. So as an overthinker, you would be good at inductive reasoning, where you observe things and then you kind of come up with a story in your head about how things are, and it's not necessarily reality. But if you learn to identify patterns, use your observational tendencies, and then express them outwardly, you can increase your intelligence. If after drawing a conclusion, you can improve your life, it's arguably a valid conclusion. For example, if I write a blog post on how to be a critical thinker, and I make general observations about when I see people saying something original and when I see people, in my perception, just agreeing with others, I could then look at that person that seems to be very kind of like honest and says their opinion and has something that seems a bit unique to say. I might look at who is that person and where do they come from? What like family situation are they in? What about them leads them to have this sort of more original, unique perspective? And I make these observations, like the overthinker I am, and I write this blog post. I might conclude by the end of that post that to be a critical and original thinker, I need to be honest, I need to question things, and I need to be comfortable with disagreement. Putting that into practice, like I have, for example, I observe that, wow, I am actually coming up with unique perspectives and actually adding something to conversation, being more of an individual instead of just agreeing with a group. So I have drawn a general conclusion, but have actually benefited from it and achieved a measurable outcome. That is me using my overthinking to my advantage. And that's where the method comes in. If you have been here before with me, you would have known that the WE method, right experiment, is something I talk about a lot. I mention I write blog posts. This is true. Now, while the description below has a link to the WE method in more detail, here is a little bit of something that tells you what exactly I do to incentivize myself to observe things like I naturally do and overanalyze, but actually do it with intention and do it to try and solve a particular problem. One, I would write down the topic on some kind of blog. I have a Squarespace blog. You cannot even post this. You can go on Notion, Cortex, also linked below, and just write up a page. How to think critically. You write how to, and insert problem or topic. You will then do your best to, through your own observations, write that post. Guess what we're doing? We're channeling your chaotic, analytical, ridiculously overthinking thoughts into something. And guess what? Not all of you will be like this, but if you have the tendency to obsessively think, you can channel your obsession If this is something you actually want to do, say think critically as our example, or you say how to overcome social anxiety or whatever, if you care about it, that's what happens. You become intentional and you start turning your overthinking mind into a ridiculous weapon. If you want to know more about that, by the way, becoming someone very formidable and successful, or even just proud of yourself and competent as an overthinker, join my community below, the Peaky People. It's paid, but whatever. Next, in this post, you can do that throughout a week of brain dumping everything you can possibly think of, researching, observing, using mental stimulus to actually do something useful. You start to realize that you're not a fucking over-analytical idiot. You are very intelligent. And this increases your intelligence. So let's go to the action step. Let's get you ahead now. Scroll down to the comments, and I want you to write how to X. Don't write X. Insert a topic. Any topic. One you know or one you don't. For example, how to overcome social anxiety. Go underneath it in the comment and brain dump everything that comes to mind. Chicken, footrest, alligator, walrus, fuck, shit. The reason I said those words is because that's what came to mind of me just then. Keep going. Just let your brain go, and I'll let you do it in a sec. And you keep writing, and then you come up with something that's kind of relevant. If once you come up with something relevant, that's like either kind of a solution or like some insight that's not just walrus, alligator, fuck, then you can delete everything in the comment except for how to X, and except for your little bit of relevant information. So there's actually a bit of a little thing you've written there. Go ahead and post that. Remember, get rid of the swear words. I'll give you a second to do that. Or just pause the video. So that's what we're done. Moving on. Now, beyond the WE method where you write and you simultaneously or thereafter experiment with what you've written, where experimenting means you're going out in the world and trying things out, observing people. There's also a link below to learn more about that. What we're going to look into now is other methods to increase your intelligence as an overthinker. You ready? Okay. Don't interrupt people and just listen. This is great for arguments, having better conversation and connecting with people, or even intimidating people. By being comfortable with silence, you'll actually be the kind of person who can be mentored. So you will speak to people older than you, and you'll actually allow them to speak. And if they're older than you, to a high enough degree, they'll often actually share insights with you. I've known a lot of older people that actually almost want to be mentors. I actually want to pass knowledge onto you as a younger person and feel like their life up to that point has been filled with maybe some suffering, but also some growth. So if you're silent, you can actually learn things from people, right? Speaking of getting information from others, increase your intelligence by considering the source. When you're researching something, say for one of your articles, your little blog posts, right, per week, consider not just the source and like whether it's reputable. It's like, is it got like .edu education or .gov, or is it like a not really solid science or journal article website, or is it a bloody news source? But you also want to consider, okay, well, who runs that organization? The people that administer this information or that wrote this, when were they born? In what environment were they brought up in? What kind of environment would they have been in when they were kind of growing their careers? If I consider, I don't know, how old are they? Where were they educated? And what are the focuses of the educational institution that the writers or owners of the online source were educated in? You might say, that's a lot of effort, Riley, but at least you know. And at least you can understand that if you educate yourself with information that is biased, you could end up with an opinion that is not as reasonable as you think it is. Now, increase your attention span to increase your intelligence. Let me explain. If you increase your attention span, you are capable of consuming more in-depth information. You can read a book. You read a long-ass study. I was studying something and it was a 162-page document. I'm like, what? It wasn't even a book. It was a study. It was like a thesis. 162 pages. What? But I can actually go through that because I have improved my attention span enough to be able to do so. The alternative to this is that you need to watch 5-minute YouTube videos because otherwise you can't pay attention. And so you get biased results, biased information where they're distilling down what they read to sell you something or just to get views because what they said was not about the information, but about the exciting way in which they said it. Anyway, when you have a higher attention span, you can go to the original sources and you can actually do research to really ensure that you are an educated individual, whatever the topic is that you want to learn about. So that when you're writing your blog post, you don't have to just watch YouTube videos. You can actually read studies and look at data. But how can we really actually improve our attention span in this world? Social media, scrolling, things like that. Here's how. 1, live with more intention. If you do not have a meaningful thing to focus on in life, you will scroll social media. For me, I do that much less than I used to. Because I like to write these sort of posts and make these videos. This is meaningful to me. And I run the community, the Peaky People. This is meaningful to me. And so now I have an intention with the information that gets into my head because I have curiosities. I have something that I want to write and I'm trying to learn things about the world. And so I'm more intentional with what I search up or what I click on. And very intentional and more aware of what it means to waste time scrolling through Instagram Reels. If you don't have a reason that is an unfortunate choice, you're more likely to just indulge and engage in that choice and just do that. You know what I mean? Intention also means phone usage, or more specifically, phone accessibility. On my phone, there are settings in place that means it does not go off with notifications. It means that I have to click the actual button on the side to turn it on. It does not wake automatically or touch to turn on. It means that only my emergency contacts come through with messages and phone calls. The others, anything else does not. So I have to be intentional with when I go on the phone. That's how it is. You can just Google how to do that. There is minimizing distractions, which means understanding what is in your area can catch your attention. I see these books, they can catch my attention. That fan can catch my attention. That coffee mug can talk. Here, it says can't remember shit. That's not true though. All these things could distract me. So I need to be aware of that. So if I'm working in a spot, I'm like, okay, I know why everything is here. This is a suitable workplace for me. And if that means that my phone is away, great. But right now I need it to record. But you can see partly what I just described is actually having a reason to do something that requires attention span and actually wanting to do it. I want to research and read because I want to write these things. And so I also have a reason not to scroll on social media because I want to do this. Sometimes your studies are not enough. Speaking of intention, if you have a more structured and regimented day, you are less likely to get distracted and therefore be focused on things that increase your knowledge and intelligence. Let me be specific with you. I wake up at roughly the same, especially right now, at the same time, and I have the same morning routine every day. And when combined with the fact that I have something I actually want to focus on, it is very easy for me to just follow my routine, which naturally leads me to writing my blog posts and doing my research and going out and learning about whatever I'm writing about through real experiences in life. Like, observing people trying out, solutions to a problem, seeing how it affects you, things like that. So you can see it all ties together a lot. By the way, if you want to leave, just go to the description, grab the WE method and follow that and go on from here. Speaking of intention, assess the intentions of who you're getting your information from. Are they just trying to sell you something? Now, this includes me. Question everything. I have a community where I dedicate time in and courses in and things like that. And my intention could be to get you in there, but not to actually offer you anything of real value. If you've seen YouTube videos before, you have got people who give some advice that might seem very basic. It's because they researched it from another YouTube video and they're just making it more entertaining and shorter. You want to look at their intentions. This is similar to when I was talking about assessing the source. Very similar. A little bit different, a little bit of a nuance. Now, this is huge, this one. To increase your intelligence, transfer your skills. I presume you've heard of transferable skills before. Things like communication, both verbal and written, marketing, and critical thinking even, can be transferred between multiple careers and incorporated massively into business. Meaning that if you put value on becoming a good writer and then learning to communicate it in an interesting, relatable, and did I already say interesting? Way. So that by learning communication skills, like how to write something that is deep and has examples and is interesting, and then learning to communicate that verbally in an interesting way that makes sense to the consumer, you can transfer that over to your social life, where you are now better at reading people or engaging people, and they pay attention to you, and you now have an opportunity to connect with people and therefore have more of a social circle of people to learn from. If you are having more conversations and you are more interesting, you can get the perspectives of other people, and they have had life experiences that you have not had. And so you then exponentially become more knowledgeable and varied in your perspectives, and therefore intelligent to a degree. As also, knowledge is not necessarily intelligence, but this helps, and I'll explain why in a second. You exponentially get these benefits just from learning some really core skills like communication, verbal and written. And then you've got this skill, of increasing or having a good attention span. Exponentially can lead to you having a higher intelligence, because you are now able to look at the studies and write something that is long and detailed that you never before would have been able to focus on doing for so long. And now you actually are writing more, and you're understanding what you're researching and what you're living. And since you can learn by teaching, and you're now writing longer things or making longer videos, teaching more, you then become even better at putting things together, combining your thoughts to make something sensical, and therefore increase your intelligence just because you had a good attention span. And then you exponentially become more competent and intelligent as an overthinker, because now that you have a higher attention span, you are learning more from other people, and you are therefore enhancing your knowledge. Because life is like a puzzle piece, you will understand everything else more. As you have these puzzle pieces, now the whole puzzle starts to look clearer. And so as you learn more about life, the rest of life all kind of starts to make more sense, and things just get easier the more educated you are. See where I'm getting at? And okay, I do hope you're listening. I think we can both agree this is not a normal shitty video. So I'm glad that you're here, if you are still here. This next bit is more of a tip, which I don't usually like to give tips, but it's still valid. If you have low energy levels because of your sleep, your diet, or your lack of exercise, or lack of all the above, you are not going to be able to resist temptations or social media use or high effort activities that would increase your intelligence. So if you're scrolling more on social media and doing less writing and learning and curiosity research, you're now moving towards a lower intellectual capacity rather than building it up. Because if you're working or have worked in a 9 to 5, people go home and they're exhausted. And on the weekend, they sleep and then do it again from Monday to Friday the next week. They are now stuck because they have structured their life, whether completely by choice or partly by choice, in a way that they don't have energy now to dedicate to endeavors and skills that would increase their intelligence and knowledge and desire to learn, and maybe then a desire to actually change their situation. So fucking oath. Energy levels. Now, this point is probably unexpected to some degree, but increase your intelligence as an overthinker and ability to outcompete others by understanding the wild opportunity that the internet itself provides. The fact that I can write all these posts so quickly on a computer and I use Cortex personally, and I can organize them and I can copy and paste and then search something, and I'm just like switching between tabs, between browsers and between Cortex. And this is now allowing me to actually learn faster. And so when you become more knowledgeable and increase your intelligence through this writing and what we have spoken about today in regards to research and the communication skills, written and verbal, and how that is very easily built when you're on the computer, you're using the internet, using it to improve my communication skills and then expand my network out in real life. You can make a more lucrative career for yourself. For example, I've now resigned from my job that I had, and I can say this now, I was a trainer for 5 departments at the Australian Taxation Office. And I got promoted in 2 years, less actually than 2 years, promoted 7 times. Do you realize how mad that is? That had never happened before, never in that length of time. And I did that because of a lot of the things I've spoken about today. There is more, a lot of which is taught in the community, the Peaky people, join, but this is it. And even when you're on the internet, and you're using it to your advantage instead of to just scroll on social media, things like that, you could start a business if you wanted to. For example, as I've used this, writing and the researching to make the writing, and therefore using my analytical and observational capacity to actually channel it into something that I care about and want to make and want to solve, I then started making content that resonated with people, and I started learning how to overcome problems and then teach people how to solve them. And so then I start making money online. And then you could be the kind of person that ends up being self-employed online in the digital economy. And then now you have, learned skills like communication and marketing, things that are probably going to stick around longer than other jobs. When we consider AI, you learn to use AI, likely to run business efficiently, especially online, and you become autonomous where you are your own employer. And now you get to live this more intelligent, autonomous life. You're more in control and you're thinking critically. You have so much potential. And I need you to hear those words. And even just consider this video. So consider that I used to be, I guess, a pretty average guy, and I was very anxious and overthinking and the OCD. And I'm now sort of able to talk like this and written what I've written. And a lot of what we discussed today was, yes, from my experience, but also research. And the research actually served me more because I've gotten good at taking my chaotic thoughts and putting them in something logical, like a written post. Because I actually put all my thoughts on the page and I write down as much as I can without thinking. I then piece it together like a puzzle and I start to make sense of things instead of just feeling mentally overwhelmed. And now I'm observing the world and it all just goes up from there. And now that research is more valuable to me, my potential is limitless. I see a really basic article and I get all these ideas from it because I've already gotten good at writing and I've already gained more knowledge by using my observational and analytical mind to observe the world. And I've learned more about life in a short period of time. So I get original thoughts from reading research, conclusions that aren't even in there. And then I'm like, I've got to go. But do not wait. Do the comment action step. Like I outlined before, down below. Make progress from day one. And again, become someone you're proud of in 30 days as an overthinker down below. Bye.